Okay, today we're going to be taking apart a Denon AVR 1800, my old stereo system from a long time ago, and I expect to find a lot of dust. All these grills on top, dust gets in here really bad, and it's been sitting in a room that is very dusty and collected dust for many years. So got a lot of screws to take off here. Cord off. Just get it out of the way. So we'll probably find a little bit of copper in here, some aluminum, probably extruded aluminum from the heat sinks. Copper will come from the power board. It'll have a transformer in it. There may be a toroid in here. Can't swear to that, but there may be. I've seen a good number of amplifiers with toroids in them. If that's the case, given this age, this is I think I bought this around 1995, 96, somewhere in that general vicinity. It's after I got out of college. So there will likely be copper and not copper plated aluminum, which are found in some of the ones these days. Blend it in. Okay. None of the connectors on this are likely to be gold plated, just because the audio systems back then, at least the lower end consumer grade audio stuff, was not known for having gold-plated connectors. A lot of screws holding these pieces in though. More torque and a better fit. That's all the screws on the outside. And as expected, lots of dust. Cover is steel. Okay. So we do have a nice big transformer in here. There is no copper toroid, so not really surprised that there's not one, just it was a possibility. Back is steel. The only plastic on this, like the two CD changers that I took apart the other day that were on time-lapse mode, is the front panel is plastic. This was back in the days when they actually made things well. So this is the video component inputs and exports. I forget if this had exports on it or not. I got a few chips here, some transistors, few ceramic capacitors, and then some, those appear to be aluminum capacitors. Backside, nothing at all. Those two boards are connected together with a pin. I'm actually surprised these had watch windows on it. This is the audio inputs and outputs. Again, a few chips, flat pack. These are old school flat packs, real thick. Couple more chips and flat packs. More aluminum capacitors, some more ceramic capacitors or resin dipped items, one way or the other. Flashing on this looks all to be copper, as expected. Backside, get a few more chips, but nothing major. And what looks to be surface mount transistors. Okay, this board is going to have pins on two sides. Again, this is an audio input-output board. Got a few chips again, a few resin dip capacitors, and lots of aluminum capacitors. And then a bunch of jump wires. Backside's got some more small chips on it, some more small surface mount transistors, probably some resistors in there as well. I can see some in here that are either resistors or capacitors or diodes, one or the other. I've only got two connections on them, so. And the last, next to last output board. Oh, we got a screw holding this one. Okay, this one's got a little bit of something on it. We got some things that look like tantalum capacitors, some few resin dipped capacitors as well, some more aluminum capacitors, a few chips. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 five items here that may have. These guys usually have a little bit of copper in them. This one I'm not sure about. Backside's got a chip and a few other little surface mount components on it. Let's see if we can get up under here and take a look. Nothing on that side to speak of. Another little transistor, but that's about it. This side we got another attachment board here. It's got a few spools of copper down in there. Let's see if I can get this off. Taking the board with it. So just a few more little copper spools on it. It's got more and more adjustable item in there, and as I said, usually those have copper in them as well. Then we got one tiny little board down here. It's got an item or two on it. Two little boards actually. A couple little chips. And aluminum capacitors and some inductors, it looks like. Those are L codes. These are for the optical inputs. I forget what that one was. I don't remember an orange one on there. That's the wrong one. This is the right one. So that's a coax for the digital input. I don't remember ever seeing one of those. As said, we do have a large aluminum heat sink in here, extruded aluminum. Get this rail out. We'll have a bunch of MOSFETs. You out now. There's screw here, possibly holding you in. Actually, a little impressed with the way that they engineered this, with all the boards slotting into another board. It wasn't a common practice, I think, and then I need to make them that way. I might be wrong. I mean, I bought this while I was in the military, or just out of it, one or the other. Don't know exactly what this board is, other than probably just a transfer board. One chip, a few resin-based capacitors, a couple of transistors on here, some more inductors and resistors, aluminum capacitors, backside, a couple little chips, but nothing really spectacular. Really just a transfer board carrying the circuitry from this side over to this side. Lots of dust. Can't even really see these screws. You notice they didn't even have a fan in this one. A Macintosh, this was not. But back in the day, this was probably a couple $100. Big flat pack, one chip, a couple other surface mount items, some transistors and whatnot on here. Front side, just a transfer board from the looks of it mainly. A couple resin-based items, a few little aluminum capacitors and some diodes and resistors. What else can I see here before I get into the big... Oh, I got that board I can remove. This one, nothing on the back side. This board pops off. Nothing on the back side of that one. Just a transfer board for one of the other input outputs. One little capacitor on it. This one's got a lot of transistors and resin-based capacitors, resin-dipped capacitors and whatnot on it. Nothing on the back really. I think I already looked at that. All of that goes to transformer. That one was already out. Hefty transformer there. We'll take a look at him in a few minutes. Another small transformer in here as well. Looks like we have a few relays. Need to be broken loose. Now my cordless screwdriver, which I may need to charge the battery on it again. It's a Metabo HPT 3.6 volt power screwdriver, and it's one of the few models I've found that have a clutch on it. Actually, I'm on high speed. That's probably what the problem is. And I'm using a number 1 bit. It's one of the few that has a clutch on it that allows you to adjust how much torque you have. And also it's a dual position. So you can go from straight to a pistol grip type. Now I've adjusted the speed down, which gives me a lot more torque. Now I'll just speed back up, get all these screws out. But it's a nice screwdriver, and it runs on Amazon US site. It usually runs around 60 bucks. Comes with 2 batteries. Comes with 2 batteries on the charger. The closest, the only other one I found like it is a Makita one. And they honestly, they look like they could be siblings. But the Makita one usually runs about $200, if I remember correctly. It was definitely a good bit more than the Metabo one. But it is, the Makita one is 7 volts, 7.2 volts, I believe. So it should be a little better than this one, but cost is always a factor. So this one we've got 5 MOSFETs. I forget what the hell these things are. 4 fuses, some aluminum capacitors, some resin dipped items, whatnot. Nothing on the back. Oh, 3 more MOSFETs on the board itself. Our big, heavy honking heat sink. Still a screw holding down. Didn't see one back there, but I guess it is. Set you to the side for a moment. Got another screw there. There was another screw there that I missed. Nice big heavy aluminum extruded aluminum heat sink. Oh, we got some quick. few more screws here. Can I get those? Nope, I can't. Need to get the extension out if I want to get those. Okay, front plate is off. That's all still again. Board in half when I was pulling that transformer out. I guess I must have. And like the other two, the CD players the other day, this came in the day and age where vacuum display assemblies were very popular. So I assume that's what we're going to find when we flip this over. It's a vacuum assembly. Out of there. That was the interesting. It came off. There's that. Interesting how these knobs came off, leaving the knobs on here. Got some metal here. We got some metal in there too. That looks like brass in there. That looks like the Denon name tag probably. There's a nut holding these on. That one's way down deep in there. Hi, Sophia. Let the deep wells out. Okay, let's go to head wrench. Not a matter of torque on those, just a matter of being able to reach down in there and get them off. And that's actually, yeah, I said this was plastic. The faceplate on this is actually metal. Plastic insert, which is that. Got a little bit more here. That's all plastic. This guy feels like it's aluminum, and that Denon label looks like it must be brass. Let's see, brass knobs on the back. Stab myself with my pick. Yeah, let's just do it that way. Yep, that's brass. This feels like aluminum. Yep, faceplate is solid aluminum. Do need to peel that plastic off. Or that's not plastic, that's glass. At least it feels like it. Very thick plastic if it is. Yeah, it's glass. I'll probably break that if I try to pull it off, so I'll get the heat gun over here, get it off without causing a bunch of damage. I could ducky, so this board, vacuum assembly. Got some LEDs over here, buttons for silver content. These are our rotary switches that came apart as we took it apart. Again, interesting how that came off without any problem. I would hate to be messing around, take this thing apart and not be able to get it back, ruin it because those switches came apart and I didn't know how I was taking apart. So it's a good thing I'm not trying to put it back together. So yeah, we'll keep the vacuum tube display, and I'll try and figure out the programming on it, which pins do what, light up what part of the display on here. Could be interesting for, you know, other display purposes, you know, just for fun. It's got a flat pack and a chip on the back, a few transistors and whatnot. There's probably some other surface mount components on here as well. Won't really see much, but a few transistors and that's it. Now this big board, we need to brush it off so we can see what's going on. Probably should be wearing a dust mask. Okay, so we got a couple big aluminum capacitors, 4 relays, 5 relays it looks like, another small transformer, all the MOSFETs again from the amplifier portion, so all of these will be copper. You can see a little bit of copper on the corners where they're trimmed. A few more transistors, some resin dipped capacitors, or whatever the heck these things are. Usually capacitors. Yep, C codes. Nice big one there, blue M&M. 2 more of these guys that, again, I forget what the heck they are. I can't see the code through the dust. What the heck was this thing? It's got a D code. D822. So I do not know what that is. But whatever it is, it's S4VB 2099. They look pretty substantial, so they may have some good stuff. A few more fuses down here, and then of course all the connectors for the outputs to the speaker system. That is a chunky looking device. And it looks like, if I'm reading that correctly, that's an L. RL 501. So I do not know what that one is. I was about to say it was a tandem capacitor, but that, you know, it's orange, not the typical yellowish color that you normally see on them. So for now, we'll get this guy off. There's our other transformer. Take these guys off as well, because they will each have a copper spool and silver contacts in them. Took the cover on that one off. These two big capacitors, we can just go ahead and remove them too. Get them out of the way. They're easy, they're just dirty aluminum. If your yard will take them. In my case, I don't know that they will. I just set them aside out of the way. We'll decide at some point if we want to go after them or not. On the MOSFETs, I try to get as much of the legs as possible because the legs are supposed to be copper as well. These are some nice old school MOSFETs too. They're nice and heavy. Now, is there anything else on here I want to take for now? There's another MOSFET. Rest of this I'll come back for later. The resin dipped items. Get you real quick since you're right next to the side. But there's a bunch of little resin dipped items on here that we'll come back for later. These guys I'll find out what they are and what they might contain. That one I'll have to find out what it contains. Nothing on the back side again. So none of these connectors will have gold plating, like I said. This is probably, I'd call it a mid-tier receiver. Back when I bought it. It made good sound. I'm not going to say it didn't. I just don't use it anymore because, you know, everything. One, I'm hardly ever home enough to listen to it, and two, I uploaded all my CDs, or you know, uploaded them onto a computer, and then so I've got them on a micro SD card in my phone. So everything is right where I need it to be, which is traveling with me all the time. And these aluminum capacitors, for the most part, are just easy to remove. And getting them out of the way is half the battle sometimes. So again, we'll come back for the other items on here later. Get down and do a bunch of circuit boards because my box is almost full now. So I'll need to clear some space in it. Those are the tandem capacitors, I believe. CF coating on those. And nick myself a little bit. This board is probably the main processing board with the most chips on it. So what did we wind up with? Got a little bit of brass. You ever notice stuff likes to be on the outside of the magnets, not on the inside, or not on the flat surfaces as much. I think I've said it in a couple of videos now that I need to empty my still bucket, so I haven't done it. That one not. That one's aluminum. Some other metal. And that is definitely brass. So that one is not. That one was the only one that was steel. Interesting. Okay. My smalls bucket is also filling up. So these guys must also be, they're cast aluminum or zinc or pop metal, whatever you want to call it. So we got 4 relays. That's where to put that. A couple more switches there. Let's take a look at what's inside this one. Oh, this is the one that had the 2 adjustable items in it. Now, if I'm right, these things have a tiny bit of copper in them. There it is. And it looks like there's a transistor between them. Yep, that's what that is. Most of that's junk, or at least not worth going after. The outsides on these are usually aluminum. a little bit of ferrite, and that copper winding, which is, again, minuscule. But if we can get it, we get it. There was that one. That's the transistor. I don't see the other one. MOSFETs. We've got a decent little pile of MOSFETs there on this board. That's just ferrite. So this is aluminum. This knob feels metal. And it's aluminum. That feels plastic. That feels plastic. I'm not sure. Oh, that's aluminum. There's your all aluminum. There's our silver contacts. It actually looks like a decent quality silver contact. Look at that little guy. Get that guy off. And it's empty. There's a tiny bit of metal in it, but we're not going to worry about it. Plastic. And this is metal that needs to be identified. All of these. I do not see where that other little spool of copper went. I'm not going to worry about it. Okey-dokey. So these guys will be just repeats of that other one. With mostly plastic, some tiny silver contacts, and a tiny spool of copper. do I say tiny, but this is not as tiny as this other as that other one was. It's not wanting to come out. That's plastic. Yeah. I got 4 of these smaller ones. And one larger one. With a larger spool of copper. And a larger contact. So if you get to take apart anything that's kind of vintage, the more vintage it is, the better the silver contacts will be in the relays. That's the only bad part of about trying to get this off, is if it snags on the plastic. One little copper spool. Two little copper spools. Do that one last. for those little copper spools. These I just like to get the steel out of them. And then the last one here. Mr. Earwig, where'd you come from? So there was not much wire to speak of in this unit. A little bit of copper, a little bit of steel, a little bit of aluminum. Why did you stop? Battery's dead. That's okay though, because you're still alive, right? Yes, you're still alive. So the camera on my head just died. Now all those connections on those boards may be brass, probably are brass. They just kept it very efficient in this thing. Didn't need a lot of excess wire. So in fact, that and the power cord are the sum total of our wire. This guy to pry up. Just need to get that up enough that I can tap off that. That's steel. This is wrapped wrapped in another layer of steel, it looks like. Some of the smaller ones I've been able to do that way. Get the blade started and then be able to use the vise, just cut it in half. And I just shattered my machete. Couldn't take the abuse. I think somebody just complimented me on that knife too. Wonder if I can take this back to Home Depot. Lovely copper. Now I've seen people trying to knock this piece off this way. The easiest way to do that, if you have a large enough vise, is just to take it and set the steel part on your jaws, and then take your punch and drive out the copper. You don't want to tighten up the vise, you just want to have it sitting here so that you're able to, have the back of the steel on the jaws. So it gives you a nice bearing surface. And it'll come apart like that. That's the easiest way. This transformer looks a little bit like that one from the old Philco radio. Ooh. Nice, lovely copper in this, though. Both sides are nice heavy gauge. Heavier gauge, I should say. Not heavy gauge by any means. Now this outer section looks like it's got a lot of glue on it. A lot of glue. Is it, Sophia? Some of this is just ugly. Whatever this black stuff is. It'll all come off when I burn it though. Melt it, not burn it. Just get as much of it off as we can. I got all of you down here now, huh? We've got Oleg, Peaches, Oleg's at the back of my legs, of course. Peaches, Coda, and Caillou, plus Sophia down here. Coda, Peaches, and Caillou are all fosters with us right now. They'll be with us for a few weeks. And hopefully they'll leave us at that time. There's a possibility that could take a little longer. I'm hoping my battery and my phone don't overheat, or not my phone, my GoPro doesn't overheat and I'm able to get a weight on this. That's why I'm trying to take it all apart here. Gotta be careful. This is an old woodworking chisel that I retired for that purpose, but it's still sharp. Easy enough to cut yourself on them when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing with them. Even more so when you're doing what you're not supposed to be doing with them. Almost done with this one. I have an empty container. I may have to run upstairs and grab one. It sounds like I need to run upstairs anyway. Bailey, our senior dog, who has problems getting up on her own, is calling. If I'm not fairly prompt with her, she'll have an accident. Okay. All these I'll consider as wires for the moment. Too much glue on that to get them all off. Okay, I'll consider that wire for the moment. The rest of all of this is copper. And I do have this little one to get done too. Stable. Not being very stable. Stable, pinch a corner, which will give us a corner up here. Do that. Okay, I'm gonna go take care of Bailey and grab a container to measure this copper. Back. Come here, piece of copper, trying to escape me. And I have a container for my copper. Today, copper will be played by chocolate covered almonds. Let's see if I can go in there. And I've got another of these that I can zero out the scale with. And now he puts on the gloves. Light turned on. It does have a light on that drill too, by the way. And the light is on an independent switch. I'm going to keep this separate and melt it all in one ingot, I think. And where's that other little strip of copper? We don't want to forget him. Oh, there he is. Our little strand. Okay, let's get these guys. Oh, I already got one in the vise. Where did that one go? That one can go straight in the bucket. It's got one little piece of tape on it I'm not worried about. Out a little bit. There's that little bit. And I'm not really worried about that tiny. And I lost a little clump of it down here too. Interesting way of encasing it. Coming off way too brittle. It does feel like a little bit of ferrite. So most of the copper is in the bucket now. Stay let's go into that. Off. The rest of this is all steel. As I was saying in the other, the one that turned into a time lapse when I didn't want it to, I try to do these guys as they come. That way it doesn't become a chore. It's just one more thing that I have to do real quick. It takes all of 15 seconds to do both of them, 3 of them if they're on there. Now I could go ahead and strip all this wire, which I'm not going to do right now, just because I'm lazy and I want to do all the wire at one time. The fine wires I've got a plan for, and I've got to build the machine for it. I think you guys will like it if it works. Okay, that's brass, that's brass, and that's brass, and that's brass. So what we have here, there's some more fine copper there. What we have here is a small pile of MOSFETs. I'm not even going to count that guy. One ceramic capacitor, some brass rich items, a little bit of brass, that guy belongs there. Silver contacts with copper connection, so you know, that'll be some dirty silver. Tiny bit of wire and our copper, and also the power cord wherever it went to is part of the wire also. So that's what we got out of this. I think that's everything actually, yes. So let's get the scale. Okay, so I'm not even going to weigh this or the brass. I'm just going to weigh this. So let me get none of these are quite the same, but they'll be close. Tear. So out of this, we got 769 grams. 27.1 ounces. 1 pound, 11.1 ounce. So almost 2 pounds of copper out of that. Not terribly bad, but you know, could be a little bit more, and it will be a little bit more once I strip this. But like I said, I'm going to keep this, keep it separate and marked, and we'll melt it all, and we'll measure it again when we do the melt for it. The aluminum heatsink, 1 pound, or excuse me, 1.74 pounds. That copper was not 1.73 pounds, which is, no, that's 1 pound, 11.8 ounces. This tear is 1 pound, 14.4 ounces. So very similar amount in copper and aluminum. 1.9 pounds, 862 grams. So not a bad piece of aluminum. And the CD changers that I tore apart the other day and messed up my video for, turning it into a time lapse. I think this is what I wound up with copper-wise out of those, was a small transformer in each and 5 motors, 5 small motors. There may have been another small transformer in one of them, and they may have had a relay in them, but it was nothing major was in those. I was actually rather disappointed. And of course, the last thing on all of them was the optical drive for the CD player. I did keep both of those as well. I've not broken these down, obviously. I'll do that here shortly, and I'll do that on video along with the other stuff that's in this piece. And I'm finally going to tear this apart. I think I figured out the best way is just to use my nips and cut it as close as I can here. So I remove 1/2 and then drive it out is what I want to do there. So that's it for today, guys. Have a good one.